job. You know that?
Yeah, I would too. It'd be a lot of fun.
Voiceover for the Jays or any sports. Oh, yeah. One of these days. Hey, we're live, by the way. Welcome to the two people that are sitting here waiting. We're actually kind of on time. That's weird how that happens, eh? How's everybody's couple weeks off there? Last Friday was a massive outage by Rogers Canada that kind of put everybody in the lurch. Nobody had internet or phone and so yeah. Then the week before that was Canada Day. It's been 2 weeks, Dylan. 2 weeks.
Jesus.
Midnight.
It was almost 3. Because you were supposed to be doing a thing this Friday.
You know what? I was like, I got to go to the Rage Against the Machine concert because they're coming for Blues Fest this week. And then I'm like, oh, wait. I'm not going until like 9 o'clock at night. So, like, I do have time. Here, let me move over here. Let me move you around. Me. I want to move me over. There we go. Give Dylan lots of space. There you go. Afternoon.
Social distancing, Aiden.
Yeah, no kidding, right? 6 feet minimum, guys. So I actually have questions for Dylan today. Midnight Wolf had to return his Sennheiser MKE. That's weird. They have pretty good... what happened? Did you just run out of money? Zerafael, how's it going, buddy? I'm using the Vocaster Two, and let me tell you, this thing is interesting. I'm not a big fan. This is the second device, by the way, Dylan, that I've gotten that gives you, because you've got the DBFS meter, right?
Yeah.
And the DBFS meter tells you, oh my God, you're so close to peaking. And in my jaw, I've got a waveform that's neg 15, give or take, peaking, like at best. But this
have you tried just drilling it, like crank your pre's, blow the fuck out, like
yes,
just
I did.
Absolutely slam the roof and see what level it goes up to?
Yes, I did, and apparently it cuts out at neg 3. So there's a limiter on this thing that you don't even know about. Just a limiter that limits everything at neg 3. So if you blast this thing, you overwhelm. And this is what I thought was happening with what was that that microphone that I had that was doing the same thing. It was a USB mic.
Yeah.
And yeah. That one was basically telling you you're peaking when you weren't peaking. And I think it's because the preamps peak well before most preamps peak. So it kind of weirds me out. The Vocaster 2 is quirky. I think it's fun, but it's quirky. $600 to the pawn shop and got my $133 in store credit. Oh, you took the MK or the Sennheiser 600 to the pawn shop? No. Oh, you brought it back to the pawn shop. Oh, okay, so it wasn't brand new. It didn't work. Canon T7s for $100 and a 2012 MacBook Pro for $30 that I had to do OS recovery on. Still solid. Nice. Fair enough. Stu George, 2 weeks off. The world has turned. USB mics are the hot thing now. I haven't been off from the channel. I did take actually this. I didn't really have much of a choice this past Monday. I actually had to use the video that was in the coffer. One of the videos in the coffer. I still have the AKG Aura mic in the coffer for when shit hits the fan. But I wasn't expecting the boom arm comparison to actually do very well, and it got 1,000 views in the first like 48 hours. I was blown away by that. It's a boom arm, not a very good boom arm either. Anyways, I did take a bit of this week off, and then they ended up sending me. I've got the SC 2200 they sent me, as well as the X1S. So I've got to get my ass in gear here. SC's sending me stuff. I got the Vocaster 2 that has to go back soon. Literally pressed for time this week. The past 2 weeks have been past 2 weeks have been stupid. I went to a concert on Tuesday night, and I took Wednesday off because my kid was sick. So I had Wednesday off, and it feels like I worked 7 days this week. Jesus. Like, it's just brutal. Backyard Reactions, how's she going, brother? Dylan, would you like to fill us in on how your week's been? Start with last Friday? No? Okay.
I will talk about my personal experiences with last Friday. I cannot speak on behalf of my employer.
God,
If
no.
you wish to know my employer's thoughts, you can Google on Google News Rogers Communications outage and get all the statements you want.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It was freaky. I mean, to put it lightly, so the core network was down, and I'm pulling from the public statement on this, although I do have some internal knowledge.
1 second. I can't seem to control your audio. Could you gain down just a bit?
Gain down, gain down, gain down.
A little bit more. Holy crap. You were like busting out there, buddy.
I don't. That fader never moves, so I don't. There's always this up and down. I have no idea if it's being weird or something.
Okay, I just had to bring it down a ton. Okay, try talking a little bit now. There you go. Okay, keep going with your story.
So I'll say, yeah, it was a freaky day. I mean, I woke up and at first, no cell phone, no internet, no television, no home phone, no 911, no emergency services.
Nope.
So in the dark, completely in the dark. And I live in a multi-unit building, so everyone here is horribly antisocial, as they often are. And I think I spent the first half of the day just trying to figure out the scope, right? Because you don't know. Is it just me? Is it my building? Is it my area? So I ended up, I think, going to a coffee shop, and they had the issue, and that's when the guy mentioned to me that, yeah, no, this is countrywide. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I'm not working. I guess I'm not working today. I guess I'm playing that little Google Chrome game, you know, the one with the dinosaur jumping over the trees.
That's a decent game.
It is a decent game. So that, and ironically, I had to listen to one of our competitor stations, the blue team, to get updates because we don't have a news talk station in this market.
I'm not gonna lie. I trolled your employer a bit on Twitter every time they put out an update. I was just having a little bit of fun with it because the one question I was thinking when you saw the updates, and I felt bad for everybody. First question I had was, how were they tweeting? So I basically, every time they tweeted, I would retweet it with tweeted from the Timmy's next door who has Bell Internet. And then the next tweet I put out, kicked out of Timmy's, tweeted from the Starbucks down the road every time because it was just funny to me. Not funny to the rest of Canada, however.
Well, again, especially for me, because I don't drive. So I spent I think my Fitbit clocked me in at 25,000 steps on Friday.
Wow.
Because I was just basically I said, if I have a heart attack, I'm dead. I'm done dead because emergency services were out, which isn't supposed to be allowed to happen. It's been explained to us why the emergency services were out, and that will not happen again, to my understanding. But yeah, it was a weird day. And then finally, I don't know, I was sitting with my girlfriend on my couch at 10 o'clock at night, and we were just sitting, listening to the radio, the old school radio, because there's no tune in or anything. And I just saw my phone light up across the couch. I said, huh. She's like, what's that? I'm like, that's a notification. Those don't happen unless, and sure enough,
the
network was slowly coming back. But I know I find myself now being annoyed because, whatever, it's infrastructure. Infrastructure goes down from time to time. It happens. The city water turns brown. The power goes out. The internet goes out. Thankfully, we don't have to deal with the internet going out very often. But the people's reactions, and I get people's anger about it, but it's they're like, well, are they going to reimburse businesses for the revenue lost? I'm like, does the power company reimburse businesses?
I don't know. Well, I mean, the one conversation we can't get deep into this because of your employment. Now you respect that. Yeah. The one conversation that's happening as well. We can't have half of Canada down, so we need to, and they are working on infrastructure to make sure that if this does ever happen again, there are switches in place to make sure people get the internet they need, and that's all that needs to happen.
So one thing, and this is in the public statements again, so I can talk about this. One thing that they're focusing on in the midterm is network bifurcation, right?
Yeah.
Divvying up the network, both in terms of the wireline versus wireless, and also regional bifurcation, which should help this issue. The speed at which this network outage occurred because of maintenance updates was alarming. The speed at which all those directions propagated throughout the network, and then I'm not in telco. I'm not in the telco side of the business, but I can just imagine, because as you know, as anyone who's seen any of this stuff, this is all remotely controlled.
Yep.
So what do you do when your remote control, because the internal networks were down too?
Yep.
So what do you do when you have to go manually reset 9,000 power cycle 9,000 towers manually. And then how do you get in touch with the engine? Like, I can't even imagine the logistics of fixing. And that's why it took so long. I mean, to my knowledge, and again, according to the public statements, the problem was identified pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It was the rest of the day that was just spent trying to figure out how to get everything back online manually. But yeah, on a personal level, Friday was a very freaky time because, again, especially the emergency service outage, it's like my goal was just get the hell around other people as much as possible. Like,
if you think that's bad, in Ontario here, and I'm not demeaning anything that you went through there, but in Ontario here, there are hospitals closing down at night, the emergency rooms. Hospitals are flat out closing down because they don't have. So, yeah, really creepy when you're like, wait a second, aren't you guys supposed to keep us No? Okay. All right.
Well, in some areas, like I know in some places around here, it was basically the purge.
Yeah.
There were stories of like mass robbings that happened where people were just breaking in. Like they would go into a condo building and they'd break into like 4 units in a row because the security systems, most of them couldn't get in touch with the monitoring centers. So like people were just going and just stocking up. Even like stores were getting robbed too. Like it was nuts because a lot of people knew that because stores were taking cash only, a lot of cash registers had more cash in them than they were supposed to. So yeah, there's all this to say. What was nice to see is the other competing players reached out pretty quickly to help.
Yeah.
Like the blue team and the folks on the other side of the tracks will say, we're pretty quick to be like, hey, is there anything that we can do to do this? So that was nice to see. Obviously, the government has now announced that they're kind of putting more pressure for that collaboration. But I don't honestly, from what I've been told and from what we've seen, I don't think that collaboration's ever really been an issue. This outage was just unprecedented. That was the problem. I know we hate hearing that word because it's COVID, but all this say, it's back up and running now. The company is going to credit people for 5 days of service, which I think for most of us, we only had like 1 or 2 days out. So that's more than generous. And yeah, hopefully that nothing like this will happen.
Well, I've always said, if there's a perfect storm that is possible, it will happen.
Oh God! Yeah.
Every single time.
And there's no such thing as 100% uptime.
No.
You know, anyone in technology says there will be downtime. That's why it doesn't matter what technology you buy. When you're buying server technology, like hard drives, for example, they always measure the reliability in MTBF, mean time between failure.
Yeah.
Which says that there will be a failure, but there's a high likelihood it's going to be whatever, like 5 million hours or something. I don't know, freaky.
It's funny, Bangs, actually. It's a shame Canada doesn't allow their populace to protect themselves. You know, the irony in that, Bangs, is nobody would get killed in any robberies on that day. Yeah. And if anything gets stolen, you just contact your insurance company and get it replaced. Because insurance is legal. You have to have insurance if you own a property. So, well, you have to have insurance if a bank has given you money for a property. So if you're rich, you can go without insurance, but you're dumb if you do. So, yeah, there's no real reason to hurt anybody in Canada if you're going to go robbing. Really quick, let's get to some of the questions here. Backyard reactions. Have either of you used the Heil PL2T boom arm? I have not. I've heard good things about it. It's on par. It's a decent boom arm. Let's just put it that way. That said, I can't necessarily stamp a stamp of approval until I actually try it myself. And 100%. boom arms definitely need a long trial before you can actually review them. And that's one of the reasons you don't see a lot of reviews on boom arms. The PSA 1 is a great example. It has a great track record for about a year, and then after that year, it starts getting squeaky, and so it's really hard to do like decent reviews or opinions on boom arms.
Even honestly, the PSA 1, just because we've talked about it a lot on this channel, there seems to be a bit of a quality control. And again, this is no knock at Rode because most of their stuff is pretty consistent. But like I've heard a lot of I lucked out. I've gotten a really good PSA 1 here. It doesn't give me any squeak, no issues, no nothing. Mind you, it doesn't move most of the time. But some people, like I think you were saying that your son,
spring broke. Yeah, spring.
Yeah, and it just went kerplunk, and it's like, well, that's weird.
Well, but I mean, it's also nothing's ever perfect, right? Like you're gonna have lemons.
also, I think people that buy a PSA 1 should take comfort in the fact that Rode is a company with a lot of integrity. So if you had an issue like that happen, you can get on the phone with Rode and they'll be like, oh shit, we'll send you another one.
And also, let's be honest here. So let's say you have a Rode PSA 1 and the price of your boom arm is about the quarter of the price of your mic. So you have a $500 microphone on your boom arm or a $400 microphone, US dollars, sure. That is the fair trade-off. So if you have something more expensive, you have a U87, I would not put a U87 on a PSA 1. Like, honestly, just hands down.
I wouldn't, for practicality reasons, I wouldn't want to put a U87 on a boom arm in general because it's awkward.
Yeah, it's going to be awkward. But if you're going to be putting something expensive on, then you got to start looking at the Mikas. You got to start looking at the OC Whites. And that's just, general smartness.
I've seen some years ago, and this is something I've seen, Yellowtech actually talking about with their R&D. Is years ago with standard boom stands, not boom arms, but like mic stands. They got in for expensive mics. You could get boom stands that had toothed yokes to them.
Ooh.
So you would loosen them up with a typical little wire nut or whatever, and then you would clamp it down, and there would actually be interlocking teeth that would prevent the arm from being able to do anything. So they're actually talking about making a heavy-duty boom arm that has those locks. And then you basically move it and you lock it in place, which kind of defeats half the purpose of having a boom arm, which is that,
Well, not really. Like you've got a booth and you want to have your mic suspended. You want to have it.
Yeah. If you have a booth, I couldn't see like broadcasters being interested in that.
No.
'Cause, as we know, broadcasters, they're like moving around with their mic. But it would be interesting to see them combine the convenience and the sex appeal of a boom arm with the, sort of reliability of those toothed mechanisms.
Sex appeal of a boom arm. They get you hard too, eh? Yeah, okay. Moving on very quickly here. We had one question from where was it? Okay, Zerafael. Hi guys, good to see you. I'm going to give this one to Dylan. I have a question. I have Neutron Advanced 3, Nectar 3 Plus, and Ozone 9 Advanced. Fab Filter bundles are at 25% sale right now, but I'm not sure if I have to get it or not. Help. And his main purpose is for voiceover audiobooks and podcasting. That is a lot of plug-in for voiceover audiobook and podcasting.
Yeah, I would say, Fab stuff is awesome. I have the Fab Filter. I've their EQ. I have the reverb. I've got a few other little tools. They're great for mixing engineers, but yeah, for just strictly a voiceover person, don't.
Yeah.
Just don't. Like it's unnecessary.
Yeah, well,
especially if you've already got all the Isotope toys. Everything that you've just mentioned, like Neutron is one of my daily drivers, Ozone as well. I can't say enough about those. Nectar is trash. I would not. I have Nectar just because it was bundled with it, but Neutron does everything, in my opinion, that Nectar can do, other than Nectar's absolutely horrible pitch correction.
Yeah.
No, don't get the Fab stuff. If you're just doing if you're a mixing engineer, yeah, absolutely, the Fab stuff is amazing. And it's so bloody easy to use. But yeah, don't do it.
Midnight Wolf. While sharing on a few Discords, I noticed timestamps from when you got the Rodecaster Two. Nice. Yeah, that was a fun live stream. Rarely do you get a live unboxing kind of like that, right? It was a lot of fun.
Was that when you got the Toque?
Yeah, that's kind of fun, man.
That was kind of neat.
I need more. We need more shit like that.
We should do that. We should do that like once in a while, maybe once a month. Do like a live unboxing.
See, I get like probably once every couple of weeks. Like this is the SE 2200 and the X1S. But the problem is the unboxing experience when SE sends me stuff and I'm working with him and he's like, "Yay, man, we'll be sending you some ribbons. We'll be sending you some tube mics next." They don't really come in the way Rode did that. Rode sent in like a care package, right? Yeah. I'm surprised it didn't have chicken noodle soup in it.
Rode branded.
Yeah, so it was cool. I would like to do more like, hey, what came in the mail? Because sometimes I don't even know what's coming. And I do have to also point out, we are under 90. I think we are 88 subs away from 10K.
Oh, boy. Come on.
I don't have anything special planned. I was thinking I could do some stuff. I could have some fun, do a bit of a bit piece. I was thinking, but then I'm like, well, I mean, it's probably going to get 500 views and die in a fire. So why, like, put 35 hours into a bit video?
I'm not gonna lie. Like, as a viewer, when I see like YouTubers put those out, I don't watch them. I see them. I was like, oh, that's good for them, and then I just scroll by.
And you know what? I mean, like, for the people that are members of this channel, I appreciate you and thank you very much. You guys helped. I mean, I should like reach out to the companies because, like, they're the ones that have been helping along the way too. But I mean, 10,000, I don't know what to do. I'm not doing a giveaway because giveaways are toxic AF on YouTube. I might do something on Twitter. I'm not exactly sure, but holy shit, I'm like 80 away from 10K, man.
Home stretch.
I've never even imagined this thing would get anywhere. Like when I hit 1,000, everything seems so far away when you hit 1,000. You just get monetized and you're just like, well, I'm never going to hit 10. And then it's like a year and a half, 2 years later, and I'm like, I'm hitting 10. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I just want to point out that's pretty cool. Also, you hit 10, the people just start sending you shit. Apparently, the Heil has a cable hiding channel on the beam. Oh, nice. Following on to that question, I bought Isotope's Everything bundle for US $199 last week just to do it. Yeah, that I would love that Everything bundle. The problem is the US to Canadian conversion doesn't exactly work as the US Canadian conversion should. I bought, back when Isotope RX6 was out, I bought it for $650 US just for RX6. And I've refused to upgrade from RX6 to RX8 or anything like that because it's not enough to justify. I already spent $600 on this, damn you. And I use it mostly for mouth clicks. So, really cool. Shave my goatee when I hit 10,000. All right. I got open up a lot of like double chinage, but you know, you know what the problem is when I shave the goatee? I feel like I look like I've got a weak chin, even though I don't. I don't have a weak chin. I swear to God.
It's all about that jawline, bro.
But you're so
about that jawline.
Yeah, it's more of a like almond style. But I'm so used to having the chin strap that it feels like that's my prominent chin when it's just hair. So I don't know. Maybe I'll do that. That sounds like fun. Don't forget to give the hosts a thumbs up. Yeah. Thanks, man. Share your shave your go. Yeah. When I turned 10, my dad just sent me more chores. Oh yeah. I don't know. I'd maybe who gets the chores? Do I? I'm thinking when I hit 10K, there's going to be, I don't know. There has to be some sort of changes going on over the next little while, just due to load management. Not necessarily the channel, but just life in general. I need to figure out load management a little bit more. The higher up you get with the subs, the more you kind of have to put in because, I mean, that's kind of what is deserving of the viewership, right? If I had the same production value I had when I first started, that wouldn't be a fair trade-off to the 10,000 people subbing. So I do need to figure out some load management so I can continue to kind of up that game and continue moving forward. And I have done quite well so far, like with a lot of the production upgrades. Next one's going to be a camera. I do have some interesting news for you, though. I've joined the Dean Blundell network.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Right? Does anybody in chat know who I'm talking about when I say Dean Blundell? And I'm kind of in the process of joining. I haven't joined. Like my content's not going out over their channel yet. They're working on a new website and a new style. I'm going to be a part of that. I'm already working with their YouTube channel to try to get it up and running because it's running a little rough. And they want to make sure it's monetized. But that's going to be something new. And that's also like sponsorships. Like it opens the door for a lot more ways to make this a viable income. So that's one of the reasons I'm doing it. But also I get to work with Dean Blundell. Yeah,
I'm having lunch with Dean's dad's business partner next Tuesday.
Nice.
I'll mention that.
That's a very wild kind of crossover there.
Yeah.
So It should be interesting. Nobody, I'm guessing from nobody's comments, nobody knows who Dean Blundell is. Sean's not here. Sean would probably know.
Probably, especially proximity to the guitar.
Yeah, to the guitar. So GTA, anybody from Toronto would know Dean Blundell, or at least know his legacy. So now that I went to the dark side and have a Mac, what should I start with for video editing and audio
No, you didn't go to the
recording?
dark side. You went to the dark corner.
Ah.
Remember the dark side.
Midnight Wolf, Adobe Audition still works on Mac if you need, or Adobe Premiere Pro still works. I would say though, DaVinci Resolve is good. Final Cut Pro is used, especially from a YouTube perspective. YouTubers are DaVinci, Adobe, or Final Cut. So they all work great. They all have their different workflows, specifically different workflows. So it's not necessarily what you want. It's kind of what you want to work with and what you have worked with in the past. If you're used to Premiere, I mean, staying with Premiere is fine. The nice thing about Final Cut Pro, though, is it's one price and done. You don't have to pay for it like every month.
Yeah,
if you have
Adobe.
If you have a Mac, get the education bundle. Find somebody in your family that has that is in school, and get them to sign you up for that education bundle. I'm not even kidding. It's 250 Canadian for Final Cut Pro, for Logic, all that, and it's world-class software that you'll never have to upgrade from. Definitely. I haven't used Final Cut in a long time, but if I ever do finally get enough money to transfer over to Mac, I probably will. And I tell you, one of the reasons is because of the rollout of the Rodecaster Pro 2. That made me hate Windows more than anything in the world. Right. I hated how it handled. Like, it just wasn't working in certain circumstances. By the way, I need the TPM module for my bloody computer to upgrade it.
Oh man, I did that, and I remember people were laughing like, "No, most motherboards have a built-in." I'm like, "No, they don't. Trust me, no, they don't." I just bought a motherboard that was made last year, and it didn't. I had to order it separately.
Yeah, I'm gonna be ordering a TPM module and updating, because like the Rodecaster Pro, I plugged it into my Windows 11 laptop, worked perfectly fine. Nothing with the 10. Oh, it pissed me off. So, and it could be 100 different things. It could be the utilization of the drivers with Windows 10, with my specific setup. Maybe my webcam driver interferes with the Rodecaster Pro drivers. There's a million. That's the problem with PC. I had one of my last PCs, the drivers for my webcam completely fucked up the drivers for my interface. That was,
I think the other problem too is like, you're testing out a lot of hardware on a pretty regular basis, and you've got a mess of drivers that are fucking with your registry constantly.
Yeah, I think I need to go and do a driver sweep. Do you guys? Oh, Bangs probably knows a good driver sweep program.
Yeah, it's easy. It's called go into your thing, type regedit.exe. Go into what the hell is the
You
key
think
name?
I'm editing my own registry?
I do it.
No, good for you. I'm not doing it.
It's not hard.
You can come down and do my registry for me, okay? All right? I ain't fucking with no registry, man. That's how shit goes sideways.
Now, I should say, just as a disclaimer, nobody, unless you know what you're doing in the registry, don't go fucking around in there.
Right?
Because deleting the wrong key will make your system not boot ever again.
Yes.
So be very careful, especially if you're screwing around in the key, any key under local machine. Don't fuck with that. Don't fuck with that. It could be bad. Current user, you could delete the entire H key current user set of keys, and it'll just regenerate them when you go to log in. But local machine, no.
Yeah, no, I don't know, and this is why I don't touch registry whatsoever. I will buy a program that cleans up my.
Say, there are a lot, like just look up like 10 best, and there's like a bunch of lists. I've gotten a few over the years. Don't follow the ads.
No.
Don't follow the ads, because those are all shit. But,
or some of them are trying to put some shit on your registry that you don't want there. I do know that.
Well, and most of them, and I've tried some of these tools over the years, these cleanup utilities, and there are some that are malicious. Most of them, at the very worst, are just saying that they're doing things that they're not.
Yeah.
So the worst that you're going to get is it'll be like, there's 6,000 errors. We fixed all of them. I'm like, there was nothing. Like, what are you talking about? So yeah, definitely go with, do a little research. Every year there's new ones that come out, and there's good companies behind some of them. But
Yeah. Big Tasty. So I'm kind of scanning through here, guys, and I'm finding the questions. Big Tasty, have you ever thought about doing guides to different plugins like EQ, compression, and noise gates?
I've thought about doing that, honestly.
I have, and I got to say, as far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty sure that will be liquid death for a YouTube video on my channel. I think there's some people that will watch it, but I've noticed like anytime I do like anything screen capped, people fall off fast.
Yeah, well, you have. It's one of those things. It's just not your mojo, right?
It's not the
your
niche.
brand.
Yeah, it's not the niche.
Like I don't have a brand at the moment on YouTube, but if I launched a channel and
Yeah.
I started doing those things and was consistent about it,
Yep. Well, it's
then it
like
would
when I
be-
do headphone videos, nobody watches. However, another channel that features headphones consistently, everyone watches, because the people that don't come to this channel for headphone reviews. So, by the way, I've got another pair of headphones to do a review on because I don't learn.
I think a good example is like Produce Like a Pro, Warren Hewart. That channel is a mixed bag. I mean, there's videos that he does where he's out on the studio floor, and then there's other videos that he does where he's screen capping Pro Tools. And they work with his channel because he's always done those things.
Yeah.
But if you just pivot in the middle of your 10K sub, once you have that many subs and you have that much of a following, you're not exactly nimble.
Well, actually, no. The more subs you have. So here's the thing. So let's say a channel like mine, I have 10,000 subs, and an average viewership after 24 hours is 1,000 views. Okay. So if I hit 1,500 views after 24 hours with my viewership, YouTube goes, oh, awesome. Let's take that and go. If I get 500 after 24 hours, YouTube goes, let's bury that somewhere where no one will ever see it again. So, and that's the big problem. When you have larger viewership, you will have more people that are willing to just go, all right, I'll watch it just because it's them. Like, I know the amount of people that are going to show up to every single video, and I love them and I appreciate them. But then there's other people who are like, no, I only watch that channel for when he reviews very specific microphones, or I only watch that channel because he does comparisons.
Or like the guys that bite your head off because they're like, oh, that's what's that guy's name?
Which
Other
one?
YouTuber does a lot of metric audio reviews.
Oh,
Does a lot of-
podcasters, Bandrew?
No.
Oh, Julian Krause.
Yes, Julian Krause. The guys that like you could just dabble in specifications on a product and you'd be like, oh, I'm gonna listen to Julian Krause.
Well,
He
yeah, and
looks
that's
like,
that's
shut
why
up.
I don't really touch specs much at all. Like I think it's like 12 seconds on the video that is put to specs because I can't. Like it's just not me. But yeah, I turned Dylan up just in case he's a little too quiet. He was peaking like son of a bitch earlier. Dark Corner Studios, has Bill C-11 got past the Senate yet? No, I do not believe it has. In fact, Justin Trudeau met with Joe Biden last week, I think it was. And Joe Biden basically was like, listen, son, you don't want that kind of stuff because U.S. is going to have some issues. Because it's going to stomp out Canadian media. Or it's going to stomp out American, U.S. It's basically... it's going to do the same thing that CanCon did to Canadian radio.
Yep.
But in the end, it will end up with stronger CanCon content. Like my videos will be pushed to more Canadians. My viewership is 90% US.
Not surprised.
So let's say I go up to 20% Canadian. Well, the problem is if it's not being shown to Americans anymore because it went up to 20% Canadians, that's a massive problem for me. So we'll see exactly how that rolls out. I'm going to be kind of curious. I don't think no bill has been able to be passed that regulates internet anyways. So
It's hard because the internet still is the Wild West. I mean, they're getting smarter about it, but
Well, yeah, but the laws that are enacted, YouTube would have to follow.
Yeah.
But even YouTube's saying, are you sure you want that? Because that means that, like, you're going to get people stomped out on the algorithm hardcore.
Well, the thing is, these kinds of laws, like, that we're getting into sort of a more authoritarian liberal approach to this, which never usually ends well.
Well, no, but I mean, the same
it's
thing was with
eliminating-
CanCon, right?
The thing is I think, if Canadian content, and I know this is a controversial opinion, but like if Canadian content wants to be thought of as as good, then make good Canadian content. If you're forcing people to run Canadian content, you're not incentivizing Canadian content creators to actually make good shit that rivals stuff overseas.
Two of the top reviewers, tech reviewers in the world, Linus Tech Tips and Unbox Therapy,
and Lou,
both Canadian. And like we don't need help. We like if you want to start programs to promote Canadian talent, that's cool. Like that would be very good. How about we get some bursaries, some funding to make sure that we can get Canadians on YouTube? How about we spend our money in that way rather than trying to force YouTube to jam CanCon down your throat when you open up YouTube?
Well, that's it. Create government grants that stimulate the content creator space in Canada, right? Create a stimulus program for content creators instead of like forcing channels to run Canadian content.
But it was funny because the very thing they did with CanCon was they made stations pay towards CanCon, and they made stations play content that nobody wanted to listen to. There's only so many times you can spin No Sugar Tonight. Right? Like it gets a little old after a while. April Wine wouldn't have existed. Wouldn't have existed without CanCon. There's a couple bands that you can say that about. Nickelback would probably still be here. You're welcome. A little bit of your viewership is British. Hi from Somerset. That's Emerging Loki 1. How's it going, Emerging Loki? Thank you for joining us from Britain. Damn, it's late there. It's like almost midnight. Lucky the British government is getting beat on, and the UK online harms bill is likely dead. Yeah, everything's kind of. I don't follow what's going on in other countries except a bit of the US, but we're also attached to them.
I was gonna say, from what I've heard, the UK government is being slammed just in general. These last little bit. I don't fully understand why, so I'm not going to pretend like I know what's going on. But I've seen the Boris Johnson headlines.
But so a few days ago, I got super sick of constantly hearing the comments whenever I would review an interface. The first question I'd get is, "How does it work with high impedance headphones?" All right, so I went out and I bought some high impedance headphones. By the way, what?
Okay,
Charlie.
So I don't know if this must be the same for all Chromium-based browsers. So Google Chrome, this might be the same as well, but I've never noticed it. If you're in the browser and you press Control and like the QWERTY number keys, they correspond to the different tabs. So like 2 is my second tab, like 6 is my 6th tab open. That's actually kind of good.
You didn't know that?
I accidentally hit it and switched to just a random tab. I was like, Oh, like I know that like Control tab I've always used to bounce between tabs.
Well, I've always used Shift tab.
Or that. Shift tab, what does that do? Shift tab. Oh yeah, it does kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
It's Control tab. Anyway, moving
on. So I got the Bear Dynamic, whatchamacallit, the 250 DT 770 DT.
The broadcast leveled headphones.
Man, I don't know how like everyone recommends these. Even a good friend of mine, Matt Kundle, recommended these to another podcaster. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing, man? This is a bus-powered interface. You can't power those. You just can't. It's actually, they're not that bad, actually. It is just a little bit quieter. It's not super quiet, but it is a little quieter. Then your high impedance, you're even. I don't know what you mean. Anyways, the 600, I don't think I'm going to go up to 600 ohms. I think I'm just going to stick with the 250s, and those will be my test subjects for any interfaces that come through.
Oh, you don't want to go to like the
Sennheiser
HD 700 freaking.
If you're buying a $200 bus-powered interface and you're using 600 ohm headphones, that's your own stupid mistake. Well,
again, that's like the $100 boom arm with the $4,000 mic thing, right? It's the same problem. Like if you're gonna buy something that or if you're going to buy a U87 and run it through a Behringer UMC.
Right, the same thing. Yeah. Or you buy a $7,000 interface and you run a Behringer mic into it.
Right? Yeah. Match your market tier with the products you buy.
I kind of wanted to do like a video on resistance matching.
Impedance
matching. Sorry, I'm really fucked up today. It's been a long fucking day.
They are the same thing. It's just in the audio world, it's not it's not Omega. It's Z.
Yeah.
I still don't fully know why they.
Liberty, dude. Yeah, 250 is considered high for interfaces. They are so anything over, I think it's over 100 is considered high. So basically Bear Dynamic offers the 80, the 250, and they offer the 80. Yeah, it's 80, 250, 35, 80, 250. There it is. So they offer a 35, 80, and 250. A 35 is meant for home electronics. The 80 is meant for interfaces. Like that's why a lot of headphones like the Rode NTH 100s are 50 ohms. And then the 250 is considered high. And then the 600 is considered audiophile. So anybody that has a 600...
you're going to need a dedicated headphone preamp for that.
And you're probably going to want to do impedance matching with 600 ohm headphones. Like you're gonna want to for the best quality of sound. 80 is medium. So yeah, 80 is kind of the medium, high, low, whatever they want to call it. There's a massive gap though. After 80, it jumps right up to 250. There's no there's no in between. So you don't see 150. You might find them out there, but for the most part, it jumps right up to 250.
I think the preamps in my global section, which I'm plugged into right now, and the SRH 840s are 44 ohms. I think these can handle up to 200, but I don't think they recommend trying to drive anything because they are active headphone pre's, but not that active. Even
on my AudioFuse Studio, which isn't actually designed for high impedance headphones, even though it's $1,000 interface. It doesn't struggle with the DT770s. However, it's also quite a bit quieter, and I've got to jack up the headphone preamps. However, the headphone preamps are pretty damn quiet on the thing. And that's the one issue you do run into when you're using high impedance headphones is when you jack up, like on the Vocaster Two, and I jack up the amplification on the headphones, you can hear the headphone amplifiers. Like you can hear the hiss. So if you're going to run with some high impedance headphones, expect that you're not going to be getting the greatest sound out of them. Let's back up here to put in a VO demo. I know at least 10 Canadian channels, and you would never know they were Canadian. Would hate to lose those. I don't think Americans are going to lose Canadian channels, Midnight Wolf. I don't think that's going to be my... I don't think that's going to end up what's happening. What I do think is it's going to severely hurt really small Canadian YouTubers that are just starting out. Possibly this channel. I am considered really small. Technically, though, once you hit the 10,000, that's where you're considered that's the line where you kind of cross over and you become like a YouTuber, according to YouTube statistics. So only like 7 to 10% of channels are over that amount or over 10K. I forget what I was reading it about 2 months back. Kind of cool. I'm probably one of the channels that would get squashed a little bit, but I don't think channels like Linus Tech Tips or anything like that are going to have a hard time with American viewership.
It kind of aggravates me because, and again, this is another controversial opinion. We're all about the controversial opinions on this channel.
Well, you are apparently.
But like, I already don't really have much control over the shit that I watch on the internet. Like, that is already very governed by other companies. Now the government is stepping in and trying to govern what I consume as content. That bugs me.
It does. Well, no, and it's stupid because I understand there's a bunch of ways you can regulate mandates for Canadian content. You can actually help promote Canadian content. But as soon as you start telling American mega companies how they're going to deal with Canadian content, that gets a little awkward.
Or even like sort of playing on your idea, right? Where let's say, I don't know, the Canadian government offered incentives for, like, let's say you had a YouTube channel and you wanted to promote your YouTube channel to a Canadian audience, and you're a Canadian content creator. For the government to have an arrangement with Google that would be partially government subsidized.
Yeah.
To promote amongst a Canadian audience. That is an example of a productive way to encourage the development of Canadian content.
If you're a Canadian artist and you want to release an album, there are grants and bursaries available to you.
Especially in Ontario.
Yeah.
Ontario has a ton of, like, Factor is an amazing organization. So many, I think almost every single one of my clients over the years has gotten a Factor grant.
But digital media gets nothing. Like, you look through bursaries and grants for digital media. Beresford, holy crap. Thanks, buddy. I think I've watched you for too long not to financially contribute. Have an hour's wage from me.
Wow.
Thanks, man. My battery is low. Oh, crap. I didn't plug in my PC. All right. Oh, wait. It's right here.
There we go.
Where's the hole?
Where's the hole? That's what she said.
Oh.
Too soon.
Is it in? Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Beresford. Cheers, brother. I appreciate you don't have to financially contribute to me. I get financially contributed to by a few different sources.
No.
But I do appreciate it.
Once we're at 100,000, then we may need something to help us manage these comments.
Yeah. Oh, no, I think it's going to come well before 100,000 for managing the comments, by the way.
Yeah. We'll get a moderator.
Yeah, definitely probably a
Bangs,
moderator.
hey, Bangs, want to moderate?
I don't know if I want to get Bangs that anyway. The issue with low impedance headphones is deafness when you forget to lower the gain. Yes, that has happened to me 3 times this week because I've switched between the NTH 100s and the Bear Dynamics a couple times, and I'm just crap. That'll kick you in the ass.
That's why I always knob goes down, unplug, plug them back in, then slowly bring the knob up.
Yeah. ATHs are 80. Nice. Ben says he got the 250 ohm 770s because he liked coiled cables. All of the Sures have coiled cables.
Yeah.
The SRH series is all coiled, and yeah, they're really nice. Although I do really like the coiled cable on the DT 770s. I gotta say, they're really nice headphones. I do have a review coming out. Review that's kind of like half-ass review, but also kind of explaining impedance in the dumbest way possible, so people can pick up on it. And no, it's just not, resistance. Impedance is a mixture of a bunch of things, but for the most part, it should. I'm hoping it goes over well. It's my 3rd headphone video, and the last 2 have shit themselves in bed, so we'll see. Urshad,
we can define impedance loosely as resistance in context. It's basically what impedance is.
Yeah, it's in AC versus DC, impedance completely changes, right? Like there's so many.
And impedance is also frequency dependent.
Yes.
Impedance. Yeah.
Yeah,
we're not getting into this.
No, and this is why, I was kind of just think of it as, no, I can't even say that because you can't technically say that. Anyways,
it's like I'd say impedance and voltage are like the two hardest electrical metrics to explain.
It's kind of
them are dependent.
It's kind of like pressure on the cone, and then I'm getting into all these different explanations. I'm like, that's not going to work. We're not even going to talk about that.
We're not even going there. It's different. There we go.
Yeah,
Period.
Red Cabin started saying it. Resistance is DC only. Impedance is AC and includes capacitive, inductive, and resistance, and varies by frequency. Both measure in ohms, but use different symbols, as you know, it's AC or DC. And that's the thing. That's why I didn't get into that in the video, because I didn't once you start saying that, you can literally see the views dropping.
Yeah, this is not the channel for that.
No, and it's also just most people just want to know why their fucking 250 ohm headphones don't work with their interface, right? So I think that's the biggest thing to get over in doing that video.
I am a big offender of that whole you don't need to know the backstory of a thing in order to know why it's not working.
Yeah, just know that it
solve
doesn't
my
work.
problem, and then I'll start digging into, back in the 60s when they started, nobody cares.
I do the same thing sometimes. It's one of the learning processes that I had to go through with this channel.
That's how I understand shit, is I look at the root, and then I'm like, oh, I get it now, but not everybody needs that to get something. So.
Yeah, no kidding. Urshad, I keep trying to say hi to you, buddy, but Dylan keeps cutting me off.
I keep cutting him off.
Urshad Sedek behind the turban. Hey, guys, how's it going, brother? Welcome. Spec-wise, do you guys think the RCP2 is now one of the best interfaces for the money? No.
I would direct you to our friend Julian Krause on the topic of spec.
No, you know what? Spec wise, it's good, and I will put it this way: it's one of the best podcast. It is the best podcast interface. It is the best interface for specific broadcast. It's the best broadcast interface. How about that? I think that's the best way to put it. If you need an interface for other things, there are better interfaces for it. Once you hit that price point that the Rodecaster Pro 2 is at, and you step beyond that, you start opening up a wide world of other things. There's so much more beyond that horizon. I think my AudioFuse Studio is still better than the Rodecaster Pro 2, and it's only a few dollars more. So yeah, it's hard to call like, it's just the best for the money. It is the best for most people for the money. I would say 90% of people that want to create audio will look at the Rodecaster Pro 2 and it will satisfy every need they have. But I don't know what Bangs is saying no to or Neo. I'm not exactly sure. I think he was yelling about our explanation of impedance. We'll see.
Again, we've talked about this before on the channel.
Oh, no. He's saying no to moderating. Ms. Ravioli said,
okay.
Let Bangs Naughty Bits moderate. Ms. Ravioli, do you know Bangs Naughty Bits? Do you guys know each other? I would be curious to see.
Good. Ms. Ravioli can fill in some of the blanks.
There's a lot of blanks there.
So you can replace some of Bang's underscores in the middle of the...
You know what? I think in the future, like we're not at the point yet. Like today's actually been a pretty relaxed, easygoing live stream. Like we've had 17 people in at one time. I think the most we've had in is like 18 or 19. It's pretty easy to keep up, but we have been noticing like a couple weeks ago, I think it was Midnight Wolf shared the stream on Podcastage's Discord, and like we started hitting the 30 and it started going up. It can be really hard to maintain a chat with that many people talking at the same time because there's a lot of people talking amongst each other, right? And it's hard to differentiate. And I think like, I don't know how we're going to do it, but I think finding a moderator in amongst some of the members, channel members, might be the first one. So I think that might be because there are some people that have been channel members and very, very loyal channel members. They come out to all the live streams. So I think doing something like that might be a decent idea. I don't think Bangs is a channel member, so that excludes Bangs anyways.
Call out.
Sitava. So what's the big difference between American and Canadian videos then? It's not like one speaks Americanese and the other Canadianese. There isn't a difference. In fact, most Canadian YouTubers 100% serve the American market. I present money in American money. I don't present in Canadian money because, like I said, I think it's only 4 to 5% of my viewing audience is Canadian. And that's just because when Canadians go for content, they don't care if they're getting American. They'll take American content over Canadian content. They just take what they want. Americans would prefer American content over Canadian content. So it's kind of one of those things where a lot of Canadian content kind of gets kicked in the ass twice. But I think I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I know Bill C11 is not the solution or whatever Bill's called. If you love your interface and you love your Hi-Z headphones, get a headphone DA distribution amp. Yes, a separate headphone amp is the way to go. Absolutely. They are not cheap though. You can get cheap ones, but cheap good?
I mean, like, and it depends. I mean, looking at, like, I've got a few here. I've got one, and I don't use them anymore much, but it's just there for the lights. But I've got an ART Headamp 6 is the cheapest one in my rack, and it's like, I don't know, it was like, I think $160. And it's got an input impedance of 40K. So
yeah. Wow.
Which is decently up there. So
yeah.
By factoring it down to 2.5 to 8 times, you could still plug some decent headphones into that I think part of the thing is it's not bus powered.
That's part of the thing. Red Cabin. I just ordered a Rodecaster Pro 2 for my new interview table to feed the wheat stones so they can produce from the interview area. Yeah, that's a good idea. Rodecaster Pro 2 is like the new broadcast board. And it's the one that like it destroys all of the other broadcast boards. Like the Tascam Mixcast 4 has nothing on it. That said, I mean, there's still viable options. The Rodecaster Pro, the Mixcast 4. It's just the Rodecaster Pro 2 just brought out so much more usability with their latest one. No, I don't know Bang's Naughty Bits in non-virtual life. I figure Bangs would be a fun person to go for coffee with.
Yeah, I feel like Bangs just has their own brand within the context of this channel at this point. No, and I'm not saying that with shade. I just as neutral statement.
They've created their own personality on this page.
As you could say the same about Ken, Hint of Shrimp.
Yeah.
CF Wheezy, who we haven't seen in a while.
Ms. Ravioli, which, by the way, Ms. Ravioli, every time I see your name, I kind of get hungry. I'm being
about ravioli.
Leveling with you. I love ravioli.
I just love any wheat-based.
Absolutely.
Ravioli being a good example.
Urshad Sedek, I'm curious to know how much further technology can improve the quality of audio production.
That's a good question.
That I have no idea.
I think, and we talk about this at work all the time because there are some interesting advancements being made. I think one thing that is going to start shattering the industry a little bit from that standpoint is this bottle opener is broken. AI. And the Descript is one of the first big players that's really trying to capitalize on AI and what machine learning can do for audio processing. But I think companies like Isotope, who specialize in sort of multi-Swiss Army knife tools, could really benefit from doing some R&D with machine learning and AI and how that could apply to things like noise reduction. I mean, looking at spectral denoise and even voice denoise are just glorified multiband gates.
Think about an AI-driven EQ and compression.
Yeah,
so how about a compression that didn't focus on your breath? Think about that, like those little things that AI could really produce.
To be fair, Isotope has started to roll some of that out with their mixing assistant and their mastering assistant, which will listen to your stuff. Although I'm not sure how much of that is going through predefined subroutines and just doing stuff that works most of the time, or whether it is actually using machine learning algorithms to do what it's doing.
Yeah. I love there's getting a lot of Canadian stuff here. Bangs, no, we just don't want French at Dark Corners today. No, that's fair. I'd prefer Trailer Park Boys and Letterkenny. I have never watched Letterkenny. I need to. I've never watched it. Wouldn't have any clue you were a Canadian until you said so there, bud.
Right there, bud.
Totally there.
Yeah, right there, bud.
No way, eh? Actually, I was talking to, because I'm trying to hammer out the Canadian out of my my verbiage. And I've actually considered contacting a coach to get rid of most actors, Canadian actors. Ryan Reynolds talks about the time he spent having it hammered out of his verbiage as well. And I think I want to go for that. What do they call it? The Midwest,
you're fighting
neutral
an uphill
Midwest
battle. You're fighting an uphill battle because you live in Canada. You talk to Canadians every day. So you're going to have to consistently, every day, you're going to have to listen to Americans speak because you're going to fall right back into that.
But my content is mostly American. So I think part of it, and I have actually lost a lot of my Canadian accent over time due to me trying to force it out. Like get into the car, stuff like that. I'll slip on it once in a while, but it doesn't really come out. So it's a slow process. I actually have a kid in the class I'm teaching, podcasting class, and I was asking him, he's American, and I'm like, all right, you need to tell me, how much am I saying that's Canadian? He's like, actually, you're not too bad. He's like, there's a couple. So we went over and we started working on a few of the words, which is kind of cool to have. Like, everyone should have an American, I think, you know?
Have a pet American.
I'm going to get into so much trouble for that.
Everyone should have an American. Demonetized on the spot.
Even affordable gear these days smashes the tech and quality from 30 years ago, Urshad.
God, yeah.
Like I was, so go and look at the original Scarlett interface, the Gen 1. It was ahead of its time for what you got and how much it cost, but it was utter shite in comparison. Look at the specs of Gen 1 Scarlett. They are gross. And then you look at the specs of even the Scarlett Solo. Just the Scarlett Solo, and it just that shouldn't exist at that price point, but it does. So yeah, even 10 years has made a big difference. Big Tasty had a friend in Sault Ste. Marie, Canada, and he goes a lot to Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan to get his groceries. Yeah, we have that along the border all the way along Canada. Yeah. We have Sault Ste. Marie's sister, Buffy St. Marie. I'm kidding. That is a Canadian joke through and through. If you want great Indigenous artist, Buffy St. Marie, check her out. Bangs more Mackenzie Brothers, less Quebecois. I live in Quebec, eh? Can't forget Red Green. Yeah, Big Tasty.
You don't live in Quebec. You live in Gatineau, which is like Quebec.
I'll have you ask the Quebec government. They consider me in Quebec, so.
Oh, they do, but like Quebec is to Canada as Gatineau is to Quebec.
Yeah.
Basically.
Midnight Wolf. Then there's Tom Green, but we can't forget him. And you know what? Live in the same city as Tom Green. Bumped into him a few times. Great guy.
The brother of Red Green. Sorry, I thought I would do that. I said Buffy St. Marie.
There's a lot of Canadian things here. Tom's actually went to the same school we did. Tom Green was graduate of the exact same program that both Dylan and I graduated.
Yep.
Backyard. I literally noticed Dark Corner Studios t-shirt, which happens to be a Triumph shirt, I believe. I don't know, but this was from Lucky Jeans. I think this might be Triumph, but it's got Fender on it. So it's a Fender guitar t-shirt with the, Anyways, I personally love this shirt, but it's becoming see-through. So you can see my nipples now. I had a lot of nipple talk on this channel too. We'll move over from that. About a boot. Yeah, North American. Yeah, I want to get North Atlantic. Oh, North Atlantic there, bud. Isotope is throwing the machine learning buzzwords all through RX. Yeah, machine learning and AI are two very different things, and I feel like they're not quite at the Google AI point yet. No. I would love to see Google start integrating their AI, and they will. They're going to start selling off their AI to other companies to use within their products. Google's going to do it.
Well, they all, we already have seen that with what is it called, Google Deep Think.
Yep.
They're like AI subdivision. We're not at the singularity yet. We're not far away. I think the last estimate was we're about 15 years max away from the singularity, which is the point where artificial intelligence surpasses human intelligence.
Yep.
But we're a little bit away from that yet.
This is interesting. Steve Fall. I do VO for Ontario all the time. The world needs more Canadian accents, eh? Don't lose it. You know what? It's actually not for the Canadian voiceover. I'm planning on hitting the U.S. market because there's more money in the U.S. And most content creation that I plan on doing, Microsoft Defender summary, bugger off. Most of the content I do plan on starting with our e-learning, and a lot of e-learning modules happen in the U.S. and are developed down there, and they're looking for what they call North American flat accent. So basically indistinguishable. Midwest. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's kind of what I'm going to go for. I'm not far off. I've done work I've talked about this before in Michigan and stuff like that. So it's just a few quirks in the language that I need to iron out. And by the time I get that ironed out, most of the industry will just reshoot with you to get the Canadian words out. They don't care.
Oh yeah, you'll get on coaching and they'll just a couple words here and there.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, okay, back up. We're going to try that one again." You said a boot, so I talked to a lot of people.
It's funny. I've lived in Canada, the last 30 years, give or take, and I've never heard somebody say a boot.
No, you don't. Oh, haven't I not described that here? So look up the Canadian accent.
I've heard similar things, but specifically that version of the word a boot. I've never heard a boot.
No, but you won't. And here's the thing. So I was even asking my American student, do you notice people saying a boot? And he's like, well, I used to, but I don't anymore. And what happened? It's because the way the brain is wired, when your brain hears a word, it tries to differentiate the word by making you hear it a specific way. Look up Canadian accent linguistics. And it's fascinating. It's mostly in the brain that you're hearing that word. Canadians don't actually say a boot. They say about, but in a way that doesn't quite wrap around the whole word.
In the same way that, like, unless you're a mobster, you don't say the word roof either.
No, Americans don't say
It's like halfway
rough.
between roof and roof. It's like halfway between those two. But like you said, it's our brains are, they try to simplify things as much as possible for us.
Well, it's just like how you don't notice your nose until you think about looking at your nose. And it's the same thing if you wear glasses. You don't see the glasses until you think about them.
Well, and those are in the field of psychology, they call those biases. And biases are often described as negative things. They're actually good things. Sometimes they're bad things. But most of the time, everything you do, if you like a certain color, that's a bias. Like, they're ways that our brain makes dealing with things easier.
Well, and that's the thing. So, like, I remember I was listening to one researcher talk about how when we remember our memories, we don't see the things that are in our way.
Remembering the last time we remembered it, basically.
Yes, but also, like, when I'm talking, my hands move. I don't see my hands, right? So in our memories, it's clear of every lens. So we just see literally eyes out. We don't see our face because I can see my brows when I look at them. But our memories don't have any of that information because your brain doesn't store it.
And it's the same thing with, could you imagine if you had to think every time you wanted to take a breath?
Yeah. No
like
kidding,
most of the time, breathing is involuntary. For good reason, because otherwise that would be a full-time job, remembering to breathe.
Okay, so I talked to a lot of people from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, whole mid-Michigan there, bud. And people think I am picking up an Ontario dialect. Mid-Michigan actually does have a lot of kind of a cross between Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Minnesota.
There's a lot of like that weird kind of Canadiana mix. Because Canadian does skip down into Fargo. If you've ever been to Fargo and you've heard people talk in Fargo, it's a lot of that, especially.
No doubt.
But that's Alberta. Like if you go into Alberta, it sounds a lot like Fargo. Like it sounds a whole lot like Fargo. So there's a lot of like intermingling of those accents around the Canadian-U.S. border. So I wouldn't be surprised in the Upper Peninsula of mid-Michigan or in Michigan that's going to happen.
Especially these days with phones, the internet. Things like, I don't know, I sound mostly American because most of the things I watch on TV or hear on the radio are voiced by Americans. So like, I feel like this whole regional dialectic separation is slowly going to be massaged away over the next like 100 years.
Well, yeah, they're obviously it already has started.
Yeah.
Work on your Upper Peninsula accent. Thanks, Big Tasty. I hear the Scottish accent's very much in demand now. You might want to specialize.
What part of Scotland? Like Aberdeen, Glasgow? Like there are dialectic and phonetic differences between every city in Scotland.
I was talking to somebody about that, and they're like, yeah, you get out into the woods of Scotland? Whoa.
Oh, yeah, Highlands. Anywhere in the Highlands. And I said, oh, no. Oh, you're like, what?
I met one of him. Yeah, that was a guy who was our neighbor. And clear as day for everyone in his family. I was like, what in God's name? Are you Newfie?
Well, it's kind of like when we hear someone from like the burbs outside of Halifax and like, we know what they're saying, but you go, if they were to go to California, they'd be like, what?
Yeah, I didn't get any of that. Huh? Dan, I think, is the Blue Bottle rocket getting discontinued? It's not on the website anymore, although the bottle is still available. I don't follow Blue products.
You follow the Yeti.
I'm good. I'm trying to get a hold. Blue was bought by Corsair, right?
I think so.
And Corsair doesn't deal with any channels that have less than average 10,000 views per video.
Average. Wowzers.
Yeah. And what? No, that's fine because they.
It's fair. It's just wow.
That's perfectly fine, but I'm never getting a product. But on the flip side of that, I'm never buying their product. I'm sorry. I'm willing, like I went out and I bought the Baradynamic DT770 Pro because I deal with distributors that would give me that if I asked them for it, but I didn't want to wait. And sometimes you need to buy a product, and that's fine. But if a company flat out just says, no, man, you're not big enough, well, then you're not big enough to be featured on my channel. I'm sorry. And it's just, that's business. When I hit 10,000, we'll have a chat. But up until then, meh. Blue is Logitech ultimately. Okay. Yeah.
All right, that was it. I knew it was one of those computery peripheral people.
Logitech won't return any of my calls. I've also tried with them because originally I think I was at about 1,200 subs. I thought about doing this was right around the time where, who was coming out with it? With the boom arms and all the gaming mics. It was a Corsair setup. Who does Corsair? Corsair owns somebody. Anyways, I was thinking about doing like a gamer setup, an audio gamer setup. And so I contacted a few companies and they either just didn't get back to me or they flat out said, nah, we're not going to deal with you. Thanks. So, yeah. I'm in Michigan now. Some Yoopers sound like Scots, kind of. Nice. Reminds me of when presenters in the UK used to learn received pronunciation to get rid of their regional accent. And that's the thing, like when you listen to the news from Australia, nobody has those regional Australian accents like Crocodile Dundee. Mm-hmm. It's all very, very mild accents. When you listen to Canadian news, it can pass as American news because it kind of has to. You can't have regional accents because here's the thing about Canada. Newfoundlanders, we can't understand them, but they can understand us.
There are still differences in the sense that, like, if you talk to a trained linguist or phonetics expert, they can probably hear. Like, I saw one where they were trying to, because Google is still, they were mostly hush hush. Now they've announced who the person is that voices the Google Home VO. But before that, when they were being hush hush about who it was, they had there were people that would go on channels and get like phonetics experts to be like, it's probably someone from like Northern California.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of, and they're like, what the fuck does Northern California sound like? I don't know, but yeah.
But there's little inflections where you can actually pick that shit up, right?
Yeah, but the point being is like trained people can hear the differences, but to the average, like to you and me, it's just whatever. It's North American accent. Like
backyard. I'm originally from Western Pennsylvania, which has a very heavy Dutch influence as far as accents go. When I moved to Phoenix, I did everything to drop my accent. Yinzers sound uneducated. And it's interesting how like accents, like we talk about dropping accents, you're not actually dropping your accent, you're acquiring an accent. And it's when you start looking at accents not as losing, as more gaining. So if I go to Scotland, I'm not losing my Canadian accent. I'm picking up a Scottish accent.
Corsair owns Elgato, by the way.
Elgato, that's the company I went for too. Yeah. Elgato, damn it. Southwest Michigan, I have a mix of Union and Southern accent. My buddy in Detroit sounds like he's from Tennessee, even though he grew up in Pontiac. Damn. I guess from every neighborhood's going to have a different one too. Johnson Duro, hey chat. How's it going, Johnson? Let's just skim through. What's the best way for someone of African descent to learn UKRP and Gen AM accents? Vocal coaches. You can find coaches.
Find someone from those places.
Yeah.
And talk to them.
If you got to be careful about picking up accents. Somebody from Africa, African descent should be fine, but I can't go and learn Swahili accents or anything like that.
I was going to say anything related, like African
race,
is hard.
Well, Africa's
that's a very challenging set of languages.
Also depends on Africa. Where in Africa? Africa's a continent, right?
Yeah.
So, you can go and pick up.
But in the same way that North America Africa is also like, even you go to South Africa, you go to Kenya, you can find some similarities, but even though they're speaking completely different languages. Well,
also the English was pretty much derived from Dutch and all the colonials.
Anglo-Saxon, bro.
Anglo-Saxon. So just find if you want to learn general American accent, you can actually hire a coach that will teach you how to gain that accent. Elgato, asking for myself. Big Tasty Ben, the YouTube auto closed caption is actually amazing at interpreting deep accents. I've noticed that too. YouTube's got a great closed caption. Yeah.
I sometimes I swear people are actually writing them by hand, but I think they did a statistic like less than 0.0002% of content creators actually enter their, like most of it's generated.
How do you have time to do it? Like right? I have a script that I follow, but I go off script a lot. So
yeah, you're not going to go in there and manually type it.
No. Grew up in St. Louis, so I have an accent that people want for broadcast. Oh, St. Louis is it, eh? I wouldn't be able to pinpoint a St. Louis accent to save my life. I'm from Kenya, and we generally speak in something close to UK. Yeah, no, and I've heard that as well. My sister-in-law lives in South Africa, and she travels a lot up into Northern Africa. And
even parts of India.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of parts of India where they speak and they basically sound like Brits. It's crazy.
Yep. Well, that's
colonialism.
That's colonialism. There you go.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of white people spreading how they talk.
We were all of us, white people here in Canada at one point or another, we're all talking in British accents. So
yeah, Johnson says we sound similar to guys from South Africa a bit. Yeah. My brother-in-law came to Canada there and yeah. That's the one thing I couldn't get over is yeah. Okay. And then his kids came over just about 3 weeks ago, and I could just make them out. I was like, can you repeat that 5 times? Thanks.
Oh my God.
Mark, my Mexican accent is horrible. Nice. Anyways, it's 6:23, guys. We're gone over. Thanks for joining us once again for a live stream on a Friday. We're no idea how things are going to go for the rest of the summer. I'm just going to be perfectly honest and upfront. The summer is a shit show. It has been, will be. I don't know how this is going to go for the rest of the summer, but we're going to try to hit these as much as we can. So thanks for coming out. I appreciate your time. And going to be hitting 10K probably by the end of this weekend. If not, like early next week. It all depends on how YouTube decides they want to divvy up my views. Some days I'll get 50 subs in a day. Other days I'll get 2. So it all depends on how shit goes. But next week should probably be with 10K subs. I'm super excited for that. Thanks to everyone who took the time to sub. Have yourself a great rest of your weekend. And